Hello, Eric and Ken out there at Control Trans. This is Jackson Control in Indianapolis, Indiana. We are so excited and we want to congratulate you on your 300th episode, guys. 300 episodes of Controltalk Radio now, right? Thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. You're a big boost to the community, to the control industry. From everyone here at Jackson Control, the Midwest Super Center for Control Technology, congratulations and keep doing what you're doing. Thank you very much.
Here we go. This is Eric Stromquist. Welcome to episode 300 of Controltalk. Now your smart business video cast and podcast. That's right, folks. Episode 300. Kenny Smyers and I have been doing this. So without further ado, welcome our co-host, your co-host and mine, the man, the myth, the legend. I've said that 300 times already. Kenny Smyers, the control man for Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Kenny, man, welcome to episode 300.
Well, thank you very much, Eric. It sure is a milestone. 300. Just doing common math or simple math, whatever. We're looking at 6+ years of Controltalk now, which of course evolved from your humble beginnings. Was actually another show we talked offline and kind of review here. And tell us about your very first episode, 2012, I believe it was. And,
yeah, it was 2012. It was actually June 14th, 2012. And we started out as the HVAC Controls Week in Review. And essentially, it was me and a microphone and a PowerPoint presentation where we would talk about the post on control trends and some of the other news in the week. And we did that for a while, and that was pretty cool. And then you and I created the Control Trends Awards back in 2012. And that really is the first time you and I sort of started being on video together. And we were breaking down the nominees for the 2012 Control Trends Awards, which you can actually see on the controltrendsawards.com website that we're putting together. We've got year 2012 done already. We'll be adding the years as we go on, but that's an ongoing project. But it was pretty cool, man. I'm sitting there in like a green easy chair, and you're sitting there doing your thing in Pittsburgh, and we're talking about the different categories and the different nominees. And then from there, we didn't really start Controltalk now, the Smart Buildings videocast and podcast for a while. We sort of morphed into, I still was doing the HVAC Controls Week in Review. And then my first interview was actually what we called a Controltalk 2.0. And the first interview took place March 17th, 2013 with John Petsy. And that was my first interview. That was before you and I were doing it together. And then we morphed from there. Really and truly, we morphed into, we were using Google Hangouts. And our first sort of thing where we actually had guests was we were doing a Google Hangout on how to use social media. And I think Anthony Bronzo was on that, Judy Knight, and I think Therese Sullivan was on one of those first ones. But we used Google Hangouts for a while. And then after that, we eventually evolved into the format we have today, which is Controltalk now, the Smart Buildings videocast and podcast. And it was always control news you can use. And if you kind of go back and look at some of the things over time, Kenny, you see these really interesting intros we came up with. So it's been an evolution, and I don't think we're done yet, buddy.
Well, I remember I'd be so impressed when we first did this the Google Hangouts, with the fact that you could have multiple people on the same time. And I remember you used to have to run it through a mixer and a splicer and a dicer, and we would have fits because you would have you'd have it done, and then all of a sudden something wasn't right, and they didn't they merged, and the sound was one second off or 2 seconds ahead or whatever. And I mean, and to now that the technology, and I think that's a great talking point, is that every year we were able to incorporate the new technology and take it to the next level, make it easier on you, make it easier on me, make it easier on our guests, and it got better. You know, it was like
Yeah.
the article that you posted today, the blog you posted today about, excuse me, the last 20 years. I mean, one thing for sure that's happened is things got smaller, faster, and cheaper. You know, and that kind of a footprint, concept. It also parallels this way we did our show. I remember coming down to your studio the first couple of times at your other house, your first studio that we went to, and it was, you always tried to dress it up like a studio. So you had couches and chairs, and we'd have corners and have different views, so that it was like a TV studio where you have a camera looking at this side of the face and then change it to this side. And we had some fun, but I think that the experience of doing this 300 times is, I'm very impressed with our industry. I'm very impressed with the people, and some people bubbled up to the top. We've watched people be, they were sales engineers and go all the way to CEOs in different
Yeah.
companies. We've seen some growth, from people. We've seen products that were so top heavy and so important, and like your social media. I remember how we all thought you got to get on social media or die, perish,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we saw every company had their own version of it, their own effort, their own internal champion that was responsible for it. We did, and we were so, we for 2-3 years, that was the ticket. Everything was about social media. It was, and then it kind of, simmered down, and then it almost went away. I mean, now it's so commonplace. It's not even a big deal. It didn't make it, the marketing collateral, was the big buzzword, and how, you put it on your social media, and you had to have a website, and the website had to be dynamic, and, and then you had Google Juice and Google Hits, and Twitter came up, and we were learning all those things. And so it's amazing how it all kind of settled down into a steady stream of information, but it's all about getting information as quickly as possible at your fingertips. And I think Control Trends, to that point, the mission statement was that, it serves as the portal. You always believed that, the third party endorsement was superior to a factory's proclamation that it had the best product. So somebody said, I love this stuff.
Not necessarily superior, but I think, and I learned this from my wife, who's a little bit younger than I am, and if she was going to buy a thermostat, the last place she would go would be to the Ecobee website or the Honeywell website or the Johnson website. She would go to third-party reviews, which sort of gave us this idea to sort of do this. So, but it is very, very interesting how it has evolved. And we're going to have several old friends that are going to come by and be on the show today. We've got several congratulatory videos, which will be playing throughout the course of the show. But yeah, dude, I mean, you can remember the days when we get through an hour and a half show, and all of a sudden they go, oh, sorry, guys, somebody's mic was too hot. We're going to have to do the whole thing again, or I would call you like, Monday morning, how you doing, Eric? I've been up all night trying to get the audio and the video to line up. But, we definitely put our 10,000 hours in terms of learning this in about the first year and a half, because we learned a lot from the mistakes, and the technology has changed. In many ways, it's gotten easier. In other ways, it's kind of gotten harder. But we're not done yet, Kenny. We've got some ideas coming up. We're going to evolve the show. We've created the Control Trends Podcasting Network. So if you have a podcast you're interested in doing, we can help you with that. It continues to evolve, and I don't think it's going to go away.
Yeah, and we went to we had an individual get in touch with us over the weekend on the Control Trends contact. That's we're doing a good job now. We haven't lost the site or forgot the passwords to it, so we're doing much better with the. In other words, we're trying to extend this opportunity for people around the world, and certainly in North America, to use this forum to talk about what they do, what they like, what they don't like, what works, what doesn't, share information. But the podcast concept is really going to stay around for a while, because people have learned that the time between points of travel, the time between different things you do, excuse me, you could be enriching yourself or learning about something or whatever with podcasts. So audiobooks are amazing, but podcasts are also very good. So by having this a controls-oriented, solutions-oriented podcast, we're seeing a lot of people show interest in it. But I just want to make sure everybody follows through. I don't know how easy it's going to be for them to present their material to you to post on the channel. But
well, it's
talk
actually
about that, would you? So explain it.
we're going to create a couple of different packages for you because it can be kind of daunting. So, one package will be for a fee. You can just Dropbox us or email your audio files, and then I can EQ it, make the sound right. We can put an intro on it, an outro on it. We can handle your hosting for you. We can get it on iTunes and all that kind of stuff for you. So we sort of hadn't had all that worked out yet, but I mean, we know how to do all that, but we just haven't really worked out a package yet. So I think at this stage of the game, we can do sort of pretty much anything you want to do. It's just a matter of having the desire. And I would encourage anybody in this business, podcasting, like Kenny said, is the way to go. That's how people consume information. It's a great way to get your messaging out there. It's a great way to connect with your community. And the Control Trends Podcasting Network is going to be set up in such a way that the page will have all these individual shows. So your show will have its own unique URL. You'll be able to get all the statistics off of it and all the data. So it's something that we'll be talking more about in 2019. And again, it's part of the evolution. And Kenny, I want to just sort of cycle back around a little bit because I was going through some old footage. But do you remember we used to have people introduce the show?
Sure
this
do.
is so and so. You're watching episode 10 of Control Talk now, the Smart Buildings videocast or the Smart Buildings podcast. Do you remember by any chance, do you remember who our first one who did that was?
I knew you were going to ask me a tough question when you started out in that direction, but I could tell you the one that stands out immediately in my mind is David Witherspoon with the Santa Claus hat.
Oh yeah, that came later on, Christmas time.
Yeah, that was 2014. So let me just take one more stab at it. Give me a 3 count here. 1001, 1002. Roger Rebmann?
Roger did several of them. He did several of them. It was actually Eugene Mazzo from DG Logic at the time.
I'll be darned, yeah.
Yeah, did great job. And Eugene, DG has been bought by Acuity Brands. So,
well, there's a perfect example of the growth we've seen. When he started out, how hardworking that whole core of guys were, and how DG Logic and DG Lux took the graphic world by storm, and how they educated all of us on dashboards, and how the colors and how the eyes read so much faster than that the visualization occurs so much faster than reading, and what the impact and how they predicted, that they were going to be successful, and they predicted the success of this graphic channel they were on, and then it turned out they get bought out and enlarged, and the rest is history. But
right.
So that's a perfect example of what happened within that span of time that we're talking about.
Well, listen, before we've got several guests coming up, some friends that have been with us over the years, but before we do that, let's play a couple of the congratulatory videos that we've gotten.
This is Ken Sinclair of AutomatedBuildings.com from the west coast of Canada, wishing Kenneth and Eric the best on their 300th edition of Control Talk now. Congratulations, guys. Well done.
Hi, this is Howard Berger from Realcom. Hey, just wanted to say congratulations to Ken and Eric for their episode 300 of Control Talk Now.
Hey, my name's Jim Heyman. I am the Director of Business Development for CG&A, Controls Group North America, the largest network of independent controls distributors in the U.S. and Canada. Congratulations on their 300th episode. Eric and Ken are great guys, and they have built an online resource that is very valuable and a credit to the controls industry. So great job, you guys. Congratulations. We're coming to you live from our field office in Iowa. Take care. Bye.
Kenny and Eric, congratulations on episode 300. 300 more to come, and thank you guys for being a part of it all, and keep doing it. Keep doing it. Keep on trugging along. We're going to make things great, and so is the industry. So great job, guys.
Johnson with McKinney's here in Atlanta, Georgia. Congratulations to Kenny and to Eric on episode 300. Keep on rocking. Keep good things coming our way.
Those are awesome. Thanks, guys. Okay, Kenny Smyers, our first guest has arrived, and he is been with us really almost since the beginning. How about introducing our first guest on this episode 300?
Well, I'm glad you gave me some time, because to introduce Mark with all of his accolades and all his titles is going to take me at least
300
3 minutes. Yeah, 300 seconds. Anyhow, yeah. Well, Mark Petock is most recently the master of ceremonies of our Control Trends Awards in Fox Theater in Atlanta. He's also the vice president and of marketing for LinkSpring and communication, chief of communication. He's also a venerated steward of our industry when it comes to cybersecurity. In fact, I don't want to start my piece with you, Marcus, but I was looking back through these years. It's 7 years, and some of the interesting topics that we talked about that were so vital in 2013, 2014, 2015. And one of the shows you used to do was Just Because by Mark Petock. And I reviewed a couple of those episodes where you did the credibility, you did the cybersecurity. You were one of the first people to really bring cybersecurity to the forefront, and the improved energy efficiencies, and then all the way to the Connex energy and stuff like that. So we have, like Eric said, an incredible history here over at this. Right. We went from our episode 1 to 300.
Right. And Mark, I'm going to put my 2 cents in regarding you, because Mark didn't start in the controls industry, man. He started in marketing in New York City. And when Kenny was in New York at the Electric Banana back in the 70s and 80s, Mark Petock was at Studio 54, breaking Cindy Crawford's heart and Linda Evangelisi and all those supermodels. So as a matter of fact, Mark might have been the first one to coin the phrase supermodels. Ain't true to that, Mark?
No truth to that, but yes, visit, as we've discussed on many occasions, yes, did do my stint at 54. But, thank you for the introduction. But gentlemen, happy 300 episode.
All right.
Number 300. Congratulations.
Thank you, buddy.
Who would have ever thought? And guess what? This milestone is very significant because you join the ranks and share the spotlight with famous episodes, people who have achieved at least 300 episodes with Thomas the Tank Engine, America's Got Talent, Law and Order, NCIS, but others, worldwide wrestling, The Simpsons, Dr. Phil, Ellen and Oprah, Larry King. And you know what? I'm challenging you two today, so the listeners and followers of Control Talk and Control Trends can also put out that challenge. 14,000. If you do over 14,000 episodes, you will have beaten the #1 broadcast piece out there for episodes, which is General Hospital. So there you go.
Gosh. All right. Now, were you a General Hospital fan back in the day, Marcus? Come on.
Yeah. So, I can't say that I was. Never got into that. But also, I think, there's other significance around the number 300. And I think, having known you guys since the very beginning, which we'll talk about in a little bit, is intuition is associated with the number 300, and trust your gut. So my question for the two of you is, did you have an intuition and did you trust your gut when you first conceived Control Talk Now and the Control Trend Awards? Did you think it was going to be as successful as it is?
Wow, that's a great question, Mark. Kenny, you want to take a stab at it first and I'll follow up? Or?
Sure. I mean, again, yeah, thank you for allowing us to even think, into that depth. Actually, no, I thought that the industry, we had such a, I don't want to say aloof, or our industry is full of professionals that don't have roots in the anything other than what they are, working for, the company they're working for. In other words, it's kind of an esoteric, where if you work for one of the big manufacturers, you can only, it's not like a United Nations, or you don't really want to see other people, prosper, and because you're competitive, so the competitive nature of our industry kind of makes people one-off. So they do it for one time, and then it's not sticky, you know. But so what happened with the control trends that surprised me was the immediate acceptance, and then how everybody regarded it as a positive thing, even though it didn't always favor them. You know, with the awards, you know, it's going to be one winner. I mean, think of it like Hollywood, you know, the best actor, you know, there's just 20 great actors in any great year, and you know, somebody has to win. And so it's so competitive that you see them sit there in an evening. But so then the growth of, and you know, the ability to sustain control trends and make it important and relevant was in our industry when we started actually identifying it and putting names and faces into a media that was, you know, on the internet. It all of a sudden our industry became much more interesting, and people became very interested in stuff. It actually put, you know, so much more character into the industry that wasn't there before. So I think we filled a void, and that surprised me. I mean, how well that was accepted. What about you, Eric?
Yeah, well, I think intuition's a really good thing, because when we first started it, you know, people were going, no, that's not going to work, you know, because like Kenny said, it was very segmented. And we sort of started it with the idea that even though, you know, Kenny and I were Honeywell and Johnson Controls distributors, and you had all these other players that we competed against, you know, Kenny and I sort of said, look, you know, here's the deal. We're going to create a platform that if you're in the business, whether you have anything, whether you compete with Kenny and my companies or not, we're going to give you a platform to get out anything regarding HVAC or smart building control. So that was one. The second thing was people kept saying, no, you can't do, you know, you need to do like a 5 or 10 minute show. Mm-hmm. Don't do an hour. An hour would never work. And, you know, just down in my gut, I said, no, you know what? I want it to be a long form, and I want it to be more of a discussion. The visual that I kept getting was like, you're sitting in a bar and you're 3 guys in front of you, or 3 people in front of you are talking about controls, and you get to be a fly on the wall and sort of listen to it. So people told us a long form would never work, meaning, you know, do 5 or 10 mm-hmm. minutes, whatever. And then, you know, I think the other thing was that early on, you know, Kenny and I really realized that our job on this show specifically was to facilitate other people and put the camera on other people and let them tell their stories, because we got incredible people, incredible companies, and incredible products. So it, you know, it just sort of evolved that way. And our intention has just always been to sort of be the historians and the gatherers and the curators mm-hmm. of all the really great stuff, so that you could come to Control Trends and you could get a feel for, you know, the industry. And I think one of the really great things that happens to us, and again, thank you so much to our community, but I can't tell you what it means to Kenny and me, Mark, when we go to a meeting or the Control Trends Awards or AHR or whatever, people come up to us from all over the world and say, man, I listen to your show every week. Or companies that say, when we get a new hire, first thing we do is we put them in a room, we put headphones on them, and we have them listen to your guys' show, because it's a good backdrop of what's going on.
And I think you're right. And I think that's key in the fact that there's such a diversification as far as the types of people that come on the show or the topics that are discussed. And again, we, you know me for all these years, you know, it's all about open. And I think that's one of the key differentiators about a show like this. It is all open. You know, we're going to discuss almost or you're going to discuss anything, you know, and and I think that's been, you know, one of the major drivers and successes that helped, you know, you guys reach this major milestone, and, you know, 300 more is just around the corner. So,
well, yeah, it is. Well, Marcus, do you remember the first time you heard about us or discovered Control Trends?
Yeah, I'll never forget this. And you, Eric and I, well, Kenny I've known for years. Eric I sort of knew, you know, here or there, but not as well as I knew Kenny. So I get a call, I remember, and it was on a Wednesday afternoon, and there you go, and your personality, Mark, this is Eric Stromquist. And I go, Eric, how are you? And he says, can I prick your brain for a few minutes? I go, sure. So you proceeded to tell me about this idea and Control Trends and, you know, trying to, you know, push the industry along, get people to talk about it, provide information and so forth and so on. And I said, oh, this sounds exciting. And I immediately asked you, well, if I can help in any way, let me know, because I think it's a really good idea. And then we just said, okay, great, and whatever. And then I didn't hear from you for a couple weeks. And then all of a sudden, boom, Mark, we're doing it. Great. All right. And then so I started to try to help in any way I could, offer any pearls of wisdom.
I remember exactly this, because I think I must have been on that second call, because you
good.
The media. You said you need to get a hold of this, and this, and then write a press release. I remember those were the first big assignments,
And then I guess it's been joined at the hip with you guys ever since.
Well, really,
so anyway, it was, and I'm delighted to
I want to go next on this, because I remember Dallas, the incredible excitement, and I was so frightened. I looked at the pictures, and the very first time we were on stage together, and this
You're
picture
talking about the Control Trends Awards, right, Kenny?
I'm talking about the Control Trends Awards, where we were joined at the hip, literally from that point forward, because the investment of energy and time was extraordinary. And I remember you had to reset the presentation because the PowerPoint broke down about your 8th slide. Remember that? And then we were holding our breath and getting her to pin drop, and you just sucked it up, reset, said okay, and then it all worked. And I remember we had such a logistical issues that we only had 2 trophies, and we had to run the trophy the whole way around the facility and bring it back onto the other side of the stage to be presented again. Because there was no backstage. You remember that? Oh, that was.
Oh, I do remember that. And again, I think those are all that make, what the show, what you guys do, part of what it is today. So, those are the early years, the lean years, as they say in the business. So,
yeah.
Well, and I got to tell you, it was, Marcus, you've been such a good friend since day one. And so, again, thank you for all you've done for us. You've been a mentor. You've been a guide to us over the years. You've been our MC. It's without you, I'm not sure all this would have happened the way it did. So many, many thanks to all you done for us.
Back at you guys. So
thank you very much. And I do. I have all those original things. In other words, we were trying to pick what would be interesting to talk about, and all of a sudden, all of it's interesting. It's like looking back through family albums, and seeing the original pictures and seeing everybody, younger and different, and
more hair for some of us.
Oh,
okay, and no hair still. no names mentioned here.
Yeah.
As when you guys asked me, hey, can I be available today? And I said, sure. I went back like you did and looked at some of the older stuff. And I'm going, wow, the hair has really changed since then for me. It's kind of, keeps every week it goes, Anyway, I'll be like Eric here soon. So,
well, and the products and the people, like the positions, like the executive cores that changed out, the products that were on the top of the world, they were at their, they were the cash cows of the industry, and how some of them have gone by the wayside and been replaced by the new technology driven stuff, and some of the manufacturers and the vendors that, were insurmountable at the time, have lost, market shares and lost things because they haven't responded to the disruption in our industry, So I think that constant disruption, that constant friction, we saw how it wore away certain parts of our industry, and how it's like a meandering river, it just moves forward, but it's changing courses constantly with the changes of people, the changes of solutions, and the changes of products. So it's a very interesting, it was very cool to reminisce back because of the, just looking at the categories, looking at the people, looking at the locations, Chicago is always a tough place. It's a tough nut to crack, but, it's in the middle of the country. New York, and we had the great snowstorm at the BB King.
Remember, 12 inches of snow? Remember that. That was incredible. That probably for me was one of the biggest challenges. I remember trying to get to the show, make sure I was there on time. And then obviously we all, were there for AHR, getting back and things like that. But then also I was looking at this the other day too, is look at the language and the types of conversations we talk about in the business today is completely different than it was back then. We never talked about data back then, or operational technology,
Right.
or cybersecurity, or, you know, there's lots and lots that we never talked about that back then, but now we do. And then, as you pointed out, look how the categories have changed with respect to the Control Trend Awards, IoT, so forth and so on. But as I say that, there's certain topics that really have remained the same, like thermostats and VAVs and, you know, controllers and things like that. But yet the technology has changed, but the basic value and what they deliver is still the same.
No, it is interesting. I think that's what's so much fun for this show for me anyway, is the fact that, you know, being able to go back and look. I mean, it really is. You see what's stayed the same, and you see what's changed, and it's such a great way to connect with people, to really get out and talk about the issues that are facing us. And to me, it's very cathartic, and at the same time, it's very enlightening, because when we have these conversations, I think we get new perspectives.
Well, I think too, Eric, to your point there about the intersection and the connection. You know, I remember the first time we went to the Realcomm IBCon show, and then, you know, all the other ones, Project Haystack. Look at what that happened. Remember the Origin? Remember, there's something happening here. We were sitting in the hotel lobby, and you know, and you guys couldn't believe how many people showed up. I mean, maybe you did believe it. I mean, I don't mean like that, but you were tickled that the event was, you know, very well attended, because that was another adventure. You didn't know what was going to really, you didn't know what was your way. I'm sure you had a good idea how many people were coming through your registration, but when they all got into the same room, it was a very impressive crowd of people that were curious. You know, the curiosity, I think, was the big magnet. And then the delivery, you know, how Jason and Scott and you guys went out there, and John Petsy and you, Mark, you guys were leaders of a very original, you know, step forward with Brian Frank's Intelligenza and his mastery of programming, have altered the industry ultimately. I mean, when Niagara was accepting project or Haystack tagging, and then I just saw somebody else's, you know, we know BACnet now is taking that real serious. So I mean, to see that come in as an inception, see that start up as a point, as a gathering, you know, and then turn into a major what you call transformative change, right, Eric?
Well, I would say it is, and there's another one of those meetings that's coming up in San Diego, so we'll make sure we get that link on the site. But if you haven't been to one of those, but it makes me think too about some of my favorite shows, and I think one of the coolest shows we ever did was Realcomm IBCon. Mark, I don't know if you remember this or not. And Kenny and I hadn't been, it was our first one. It was down in Orlando. They had a huge electronics show that was going on at the same time. And I said, Mark, what do you say we do a show from here? And you said, yeah, I can get some guests. So I'll find us a set. So I found this set with a big green screen, and people had cameras and stuff like that over there. Remember, it was like a big stage. And we got up there, we had all these people come on stage and introduced them and talked, and we did a Control Talk Now show from there. That was a really, really fun show. We did that. We've done a couple at Realcomm IBCon where we just got a group of people together and did the show.
Well, another really good, remember that one out there in Silicon Valley? We were on that balcony.
Exactly.
And it was so windy, and you remember? And I thought we were going to get blown over.
Oh, it was awesome. But then one of my favorite ones too was in conjunction with Project Haystack in Colorado Springs. And I don't know if you guys remember this, Mark, but we had Brian Frank on, and we had several other people on Alper, and it was just so cool because Project Haystack's going on all around us. People are registering, walking in and out, and you know, we just set some chairs up, we got the cameras out, and we recorded a show right then and there.
You know, and I think I want to go back to a word that Kenny brought up, adventure.
Yeah.
I think this industry and what we all do, not just us, but collectively the industry, this is an adventure. And, you know, I look at you guys, you know, you started out, oh, this is an adventure. to, again, control trends, control talk, and so forth and so on. And I think that's the key to this whole thing. It's that this industry we're in, and the one that we play in and we work in each and every day, it's all about the adventure. And it's never dull. It's never a dull moment, that's for sure. And, you know, so if summing everything up, you know, this is an adventure for us, you know?
Well, it is. And as one of my teachers once said, what we're doing is important. It's not serious. And I think a lot of times people forget they take it too seriously. And when I say that, I don't mean it's not important what you do, but boy, you can sure have a good time along the way. And Mark, that's one of the things that we love about you is you bring a great perspective to whatever you're at.
Appreciate that.
Right. Plus, you know, one final thing I had that I looked at was the value also that that we were fortunate to connect a lot of people and bring this intelligence to bear and on the subjects and the trends that were changing. So we saw, so we moved the trends back and forth. And like you mentioned, the top ones there, nailed them. OTI. So the operational technology was kind of a new concept where we had IT and we had to explain that. And now that's common practice. That verbiage is used everywhere. Everybody's adopted it. Data, there wasn't a peep of data. In fact, data didn't pop up until, I don't know, probably like 2014, I guess 2014, I heard it, and then the cybersecurity issues, how the bomb dropped there. And then IoT, remember IoT? Everybody got so tired of IoT that nobody was allowed to say it again. If you say IoT, I'm going to hang up the phone.
Exactly.
So, but
well, the Edge, don't forget the Edge. Mark and his team.
Edge is, Edge is part of the new dialogue and, other things.
Absolutely.
It's, again.
But I just the value of collaboration, the collaboratorium, and then to Ken St. Clair and yours point, you guys came up with that in the taxi cab ride out of Chicago, that there was a reason for these things to happen, to be willed into being and then serve the purpose. And now it's become a magnetic force that's attracting young folks to it. So that this most recent event we had in AHR that we recently posted on Control Trends captures the interest, but the movement that we've seen happen in the industry, where it used to be one-dimensional, one manufacturer tried to push and lift all the weights and couldn't get things done in 2, 3, 4 years. We saw this collaboration take place. We saw this cross-pollination of talent and saw this collaboration move something within a year from concept to boxed product. And that was another extraordinary experience that I had never I never saw before. I never saw, such an amazing collaboration of people that, 4 or 5, well, maybe went longer than that, 10 years ago, wouldn't conceive of sharing their secrets and sharing, the heavy burdens and the financial burdens, all of a sudden work together and get something done a heck of a lot quicker than it's ever been done before.
Absolutely. So let me ask this to you guys. So again, since it's number 300, if you could go back and change one thing over these 300 episodes, what would that be?
Okay, Eric, you go first.
A loaded question for you guys.
Well, mine would be gear, obviously. I've invested so much money in gear over the years, and I've got a closet full of stuff that got obsoleted very, very quickly. So yeah, if I could know what I know now about how to record, produce, and EQ the shows in advance of all I've had to learn, I would change that, because it's been many, 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 many hours. And I actually did have hair when we started this, but I pulled it all out, Marcus. Work.
Well, I think mine would be eliminate the gaffes, like the wrong name or the wrong reference or the wrong number, and say $1 million and it should have been 100,000 or something, and wait for somebody to hear it and catch it and say, I think you made a boo-boo there. But other than that, I don't think, I think I would have had a better, been more receptive to Eric's initial suggestions about getting yourself a steady background and buying this or whatever. In fact, I was so slow to do it, Eric had to send me my microphones because he couldn't stand listening to me. So one of my trophies is one of these big old mics that is no longer needed. But But yeah, we had some pretty awful, settings back on my side of the camera. So I tried to pick up the game a little bit.
So I was going to say another question, and this one really directed towards Eric. Where did you get the intro for Kenny that you say every week? The man, the myth, the legend, so forth and so on. What was that inspiration? Where did that come from?
You know what? I don't know. I think I was probably trying to set gear up, and I was trying to make stuff work. And at the same time, I knew we were recording, and I think it just popped out as a distraction while I was over here trying to adjust volumes or something like that. But then once it happened, it sort of happened. And then I have to give Therese Sullivan now with Tritium props, because when we did one of our first things, I said, remember stay in control, or something about staying in controls. And she goes, you should use that as an outro. That should be your signature outro, stay in control. So
well, Eric, what he did though was he put some, I mean, it's a lot of fun now. I'm used to it, so it doesn't bother me at all. But back when I first said it, I would get, my brothers would tease me. My ass, the man, the myth, the legend. I would get all this stuff here. I got like 5 or 6 of these man, the myth, the legend. You wouldn't believe how many people, have taken that. So now, like I say, now it's I keep them. I used to throw them away and whatever. But
does your family, your wife, your kids, and so forth? Do they, oh, here comes the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only, the man from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Ken Smyers.
Not necessarily in a loving way, but yeah, I got a coffee cup where I have my daughter. We got Oma and Opa. So our daughter Sabrina is in from California still, and in fact we're going back to San Diego next week. But the coffee cup says the man, myth, the legend on the one side, and it says Opa on the other side. So there's some nice ones. But yeah, I used to cringe when Eric did that, because again, that's a pretty high, lofty accolades to be, and then you say the smartest man in the room, and I almost turned beat red because people are talking.
That's for Jim Young, but Mark, you got to admit, I mean, it fits, right?
Oh, it could not be any more perfect than that. Okay.
Well, now that I have, your a Petock award on my shelf, then now I can move with a little bit more, stature, because I feel a little bit more,
I think we need to get that trademark and registered for your intro, so we can start selling T-shirts, hats. Come to Control Trend Now e-store and get your man, your myth, the legend T-shirts.
Well, what's funny is that when Eric would do that, I would feel as though I had to do extra homework. I tried to make sure that some of those facts I used to guess on and ballpark things, I had to do a little bit more homework so I could just kind of hold up my end of the stick there.
So as you can see, I'm kind of turning the tides on you guys because of this major milestone. So out of these 300 episodes and the years, the countless hours and minutes and years that you put into this, what is the one biggest change you see in our industry that you kind of talked about over in one of the shows?
It's a great question. Kenny, you want to go first?
Well, I think it happened for me.
You're the smartest man in the room.
Exactly.
Well, you know what? You just made me say another subject that came up, and you had a lot to do, was that master systems integrator concept that came up. Those were the new trends. We hit them all, I think, with OTI, data, cybersecurity, IoT, edge, and MSI. I'll tell you, the one that knocked me off my chair was when Google bought Nest. That's when I realized that this disruption thing was not just for real. And some of the comments we heard again in the HR from the younger groups, that they're inevitable, and how you don't want to let go of your sweet spot, and how important it is to stay, kind of flexible and understand that there are going to be changes. And the best thing you can do is you can fight them all you're worth, or you can adopt them early and let the emotion propel you forward instead of, because it's common, and same with technology, and same with some of the things that we talk about with voice activation, and seeing sensors disappear off the wall because and then the smartphone being integrated through a thing like Comfy. I think Comfy also knocked me off my seat when people had enough critical mass there that they were taking their smart devices and saying, this is how I want to talk to the thermostat. I don't want to get up anymore, walk across the room and slide a dial up or left. And I don't trust it. I don't believe it. It's a placebo thing because I know enough about the world that this is software driven, and regardless of what that thing says, I want to know, I want I want some contact with this equipment that is indirect but meaningful, So I think that's what really got me was the application of technology. How the big providers and they pose the same thing that's never going to go away. It's like those movies where the first time you see the giant spaceship comes in and hovers over Boston. It's like it's not going to go away. It's really there, and that's how technology kind of like that was a wake up.
I would have to agree. I think that for me, it's seeing all the great technologies, seeing the rate of change. And, Kenny and I, Mark, you've been around the controls industry for a long time, and it's not that we haven't seen change, it's just the rate at which things are changing. And I think also the thing is the shift from the owners maybe not being that educated to the owners being very, very involved in knowing what they want.
Absolutely.
And so I think along those lines, it's not having great technology is not enough anymore. Having, great customer support and technical support is not enough anymore. I think we're just seeing this. We're going to see more of it. I think your messaging and your understanding and your people, when they talk to owners or engineers, to really figure out, what they want and being able to deliver it, because it's about, as Ken Sinclair is saying, it's becoming about the environment. It's becoming about we talked about the $300 rule, which basically means your biggest cost in a space is the productivity of the people in that space. And how can you, as a controls integrator, manufacturer, distributor, or consulting engineer, affect that? Because that's what the owners are focusing on now, and their buildings now are becoming their spaces is how they're going to lure in young talent. And if their spaces aren't responsive and comfortable, they're probably not going to get to hire the people they want to hire. So I think that's just a fundamental change we're seeing. I don't see that going away. I think the technology is going to continue to evolve as we become more connected with the economy, and meaning the economy, meaning building owners and people that are hiring people into a space.
Hey, Eric, I got two things I got to remind you of. I should have reminded you about an hour ago. You said, remind me to restart the video.
Folks, welcome to another Control Trends Occurrence. Eric gets to turn the recorder. No, I actually have the recorder on this time, boys and girls.
No, and then I had one other question here that we got to put onto. We have to have documented on the show, and that's Marcus Petock. Who's going to win the Super Bowl?
Oh, I have to say the Patriots. I tell you, Tom Brady, you wind him up, and the man is absolutely incredible. He by far is the best quarterback I have seen since I've been watching professional football in the NFL back when I was a little guy. So, and you got to give him credit. A lot of people may not like him, like the Patriots, but Belichick and that, it's a machine.
Yeah, I agree. I could have said it better. In fact, Edelman and all those other guys, the way they came back on that drive and never let the other team get a chance to score. It was their game, and they weren't going to lose it. And if you let them sniff, that opportunity, no other team has ever responded more consistently than the New England Patriots, led by Brady.
But I'm waiting for your part of that dynamic duo who lives in Atlanta to call us up on the phone and say, guys, they're having this right in my backyard here. I just got us 3 tickets on the 50-yard line. Come on down. You're my guest. And we could do the show right from there. So come on. That's one place we haven't done it yet.
Well, if I get tickets, if I get 3 tickets. You two will be my first call, and I promise you that. So, so here's a question for you guys regarding that. Is Brady without Belichick? And is Belichick without Brady?
Go ahead, Kenny. I'm putting you out on the limb first there, pal.
Well, I mean, there's your operational technology and your informational technology. They have to come together. So one playing by himself without the support of the other one, I think that there's no other better assessing of coaching than Belichick and his team as far as finding weaknesses and mismatches and finding players that are like puzzle pieces. They don't fit exactly, but they fit well enough to make the composite success. And so I would say that, yeah, they're joined two at the hip. They're not, you never can tell. I mean, when you look at Brady and they showed his highlights, he came from very humble beginnings. He wasn't supposed to be the first person to win 6 Super Bowls, but he is probably going to do it. And I always want to change in regards, I'm a sourpuss when the Steelers lose, but like Mark said, I was won over that last game. It was remarkable to see it. It was a heck of a game. Mahomes was in Kansas City where, they gave it all they got. They left it all on the field, a couple of calls that I just really don't know the nature of this offside thing. And the game before this, the guy spearing the guy at the end zone trying to catch the ball and they don't call it. I mean, that disappointed me. That puts a whole new, it casts a new shadow on who's controlling outcomes. Is that feasible now? That's another question that, they shouldn't have let that surface.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well. Okay, Eric, you didn't pick a winner yet. Who's winning?
LA Rams.
All right.
All right, there we go.
How about you, Kenny?
I think the Patriots are gonna kill them.
All right, guys. Well, Marcus, thank you so much for celebrating episode 300 with us. People can find you at linkspring.com. They got great products, and we'll have you back on. We'll talk more products.
I appreciate it, guys. Again,
thank you.
Happy 300. Well done, gentlemen. Woo-hoo.
Thank you, Marcus. All right, Kenny Smyers. Our next guest has been with us since day one, a friend of the show. Some call him the most exciting man in the controls industry. How about introducing our next guest to celebrate episode 300?
I'd love to. It's Roger Rebmann from Jackson Control. And I'll tell you what, this guy, he's got to be CEO, Vice President of Indianapolis, Indiana. I see the 100th running of the Indy 500 behind you. And Roger, I'm jumping around here because I got a little nervous because I saw that, and we were there. We were actually at that race. So, I mean, that's something we're going to cover there. But Roger, thanks for making time for us. Just help me introduce you. Tell me what you're doing with Jackson Controls, because part of the history we have is the evolution of control trends and the Control Talk now. You've been on the show 12 times, 12 interviews we've had with you in various capacities around the world at different trade shows. So we're going to cover some of them, but just give us your current status and tell the world who you are and what you're doing.
Eric, Ken, first of all, congratulations on your 300th episode. And it's a really proud thing for me to look back and think that I was there when you guys started this, and just how far you've come with it and how the community has embraced it, and what a serious contribution you've made to making our industry stand up as a whole and really let building owners, consulting engineers around the world take note that buildings are changing, technology's changing, and that we're in that space to help things go. So, everyone, big congrats to.
Thank you very much. That's awesome. Thank
you. You guys you do a phenomenal job. You make it fun. Just a little bit about me for folks that haven't met me or don't know me. I'm just a guy that's been doing this about 37 years. I started with Honeywell way back when. I think we were still using typewriters when this thing started. You guys remember that? We got to tell our kids and the next generation, these young guns, hey, you guys take this baton and run with it. But I'm here at Jackson Control now, and Jackson Control is a building automation authorized system distributor for Honeywell, for Vicon, for Johnson Controls, for EasyIO, for Siemens, for Schneider, for functional devices, for Tosi Box, for Honeywell security and video, and that's a pretty good lineup.
Don't forget Belimo.
You know,
Don't forget Belimo. Hey, Roger, Belimo too.
And Belimo, how did I forget Belimo? Oh my God, Gary Weber, I love you. Don't ever let me forget you again. No, I was looking out the window trying to see my colors, and everybody knows that I orange the town up every day. I love the orange, man. So, but anyway, you know, we're going to do something a little different at Jackson Control. For guys that know me, you know, they all know I've got a strong security and video background, includes fire alarm and all those things to make buildings safer. And Eric and Kenny, you know, we've had 1,000 discussions about part of our responsibility to the community, and really to our, when I say the community, I mean the community that we live in, the schools, the hospitals, the churches, the daycares. You know, we impact people's lives every day, much more importantly than keeping them comfortable and helping them lower their utility bills. So what makes it nice now is that we're looking at intelligent buildings, and we can broaden our wings, and we can look at access control, shooter detection systems, and really just make even a deeper impact to safety and security and energy efficiency. So I'm running the show here at Jackson Control. I've got a team that's been, you know, just a phenomenal team. We're growing. We've expanded into Ohio. We have expanded into Chicago, and we've got a campus an office on the campus of Notre Dame University now, and we're real excited about what we're doing there. We're going to try to make this more of a think tank, guys. We're going to try to get these young engineers and these interns in that are after school, wanting to, you know, work in our industry and help us run our office and see the cool things that we do. That, you know, you don't have to sit in the lab all day with a software degree. So Jackson Control is expanding. We're about 24 people strong. We've got 12 people that are Niagara 4 certified. We believe that the total building technology is where we live. So we're nothing in the building is off limits when we're talking about integration. So that's kind of what we're doing here. We're so excited to be associated with you guys. It's a true honor. And you saw the video we said a while ago.
Oh, thank you so much for your team. Will you please thank them for that congratulatory video? That was awesome, Raj. And I tell you what, if you've been on Controltalk for a while, you know Raj has been with us since the beginning. He's gone through many phases, but the one thing that has never waned is his enthusiasm, his passion for the business. Raj, I think we first got started when you were with Honeywell with the secret handshake. Don't know whether you remember that or not.
I do remember the secret handshake in the dark corners of Stromquist warehouse.
And for our community, you might know what's going on. Man, when I first got started, and Kenny first got started with this, we were doing anything possible to try to get people involved with control. Right. We came up with this thing about HVAC controls. People have secret handshakes, and we would send us your video. We'll put it on Controltalk with the secret handshake. And then from there, Raj, we went to, you were the first recipient at the Controltalk Awards, the first PID, which is one of the highest awards we have at the Controltalk Awards, passion, integrity, and dedication. And Kenny, I think he also won the Support Person of the Year that year too, didn't he?
Well, he was nominated. He won the PID, the first one, and I think that, you know, that took center stage there, and that was quite. Yeah. And the triumphal raising of the trophy.
That is the icon for. Yeah.
And we used that as several times as the photo, the media photo for the post. But you know, the thing about Roger, and I remember I've walked many surveys with Roger. I mean, we've walked perimeters of buildings in Pennsylvania. I mean, some big ones, and, you know, and I've gone through with a tablet and marking my little charts and whatever. And Roger has been so helpful. But the thing I really wanted to say first was that you always had a good time. I mean, life can be a burden if you let it. You know, work can be just work, plain work. But you always had the ability to make our work fun. You always had the ability to give us a carrot to go after, so that if we did work hard, we were successful, we'd have a darn good time at it. And I'm looking through some of these incredible posts we had at the Pocono IndyCar race with Tom Petty's his bus that he did his travel, and his roadie bus. And then I look at the Indy 500. But I mean, you had participated in so many of the events that Control Trends had as cardinal events, you know, the attendance at some of the big meetings, whether it was a summit, whether it was, you know, Momentum somewhere, even Realcomm, Ibicon, you had you know, always been around the next thing happening in our industry, and help people, you know, bridge it, you know, get them motivated, going from, I remember AX security, you know, finally, you know, to the N4, you know, and wait, and you were the anchor that kept everybody like confident that this thing was coming. I remember some of those trials and tribulations we went through, but I just want to say thank you for all the great times we had, and helping to contribute to when we needed, you know, somebody from the industry that knew what was going on, that could say something enthusiastically instead of drably, and bring life onto a stage. Just thank you very much for your help and your participation over these 7 years.
Absolutely, Raj.
Yeah, and boy, Kenny, you and Eric sure know how to humble a man. I appreciate it. It's, you know, I think when the day comes, if it ever does, and you know, I lay down the control, you know, gauntlet of the day, I will look back, and I can already tell you the thing that I have no words to describe are all the people that I met, and a tremendous thanks to Honeywell, who gave me the opportunity to travel around the country. Just think for a minute, you know, I was in the branch doing all the things I did, and I saw a change in the industry. I saw a change in Honeywell, and I thought, you know, I see something happening here, and I feel excitement on the other side of this wall. So I jumped out of the branch where I was a fire security and an EVI guy, and I said, you know, I think Honeywell and this HVAC and this thermostat thing is going to be something. Some things are happening, and you know, lo and behold, they buy Tritium, and we roll out spiders, and I'm over a security guy in an HVAC world. And I'll never forget Mike Keller saying, Raj, it's all inputs and outputs, and we're going to teach you. You don't have to worry. And about the time I got good enough to do a takeoff and maybe engineer a decent little building automation system, and people started inviting me deeper into the relationship, we roll out a security Jace. And the next thing you know, fate takes me right back to my comfort zone. And they said, you know, all the OEMs were, we really like to do this Niagara security, but man, we've never really done door locks and this, that, and I never, Mike Keller and Dave Moline said, well, we got somebody who knows how to do it, you know. So I thought, doggone it, now I got to go back to do card access when I was just having all this fun with boilers. You know, I never had so much fun, but when I took roll-offs class for flame safeguard, I was just, man, I wanted to set everything on fire. You know?
Well, you know, go ahead, Eric.
Raj, I was going to say, speaking of setting things on fire, and again, your passion for our industry is infectious. And tell people, if you will, about the Roger Rebmann experience. That was one of the greatest things ever.
Well, you know, and it's a passion, and it's deep in my soul. And then, you know, every time I talk with you guys, I say, you know, I don't want everybody out there in the control trends world to think that Roger's just a comedian. I have a serious side. And I think my clients, my customers, and my partners and colleagues would tell you that, you know, when it's time to go to battle, when it's time to work, when it's time to, you know, solve a customer's building control needs, you know, I'm going to put everything forward. But the Indy 500, it's kind of funny how, you know, life lays down a path for you, and the good Lord, you know, I got to give him a lot of credit for all this, because hell, I never could see myself a CEO of Jackson Control. I didn't see myself traveling around meeting people like Smyers and Stromquist and Controlco and all these just unbelievable experiences I've had. But as a kid, my dad was a milkman, and one of the few things we did was, in the month of May, we would load up the station wagon and we'd get fried chicken, and we would take me and my brothers out to the track, and we would go to the infield. And, you know, of course, all we were just so excited to get out and run around like yard apes. We didn't care. But I think Mom and Dad were enjoying the sun, drinking a few brewskis, eating some chicken, hanging out with their friends. You know, the tailgate was down. But this will be my 49th Indy 500 in a row. And now I will admit, during high school in Indianapolis, and people will tell you during the 70s and 80s, you cut school and you went to the track. And so as soon as the track was open the month of May, and people go, let's go to the track. You know, we'd go to the track, we'd see the snake pit. So I've grown up there as a kid, and I've evolved much like my career, where racing really wasn't that big a deal, even though I heard A.J. Foyt and Tom Sneva and Al Unser and Bobby, you know, Ray Hall, and all these great names that really set the tone for that industry, for that network, for that community of speed, technology, and passion and dedication, much like what Control Trends and you guys are doing, and really helping, you know, help elevating our game. But so I go there as a tradition, and it's woven into who I am, right? Look at the wing over my.
Oh yeah.
Right, 100. This will be the 104th running of the Indy 500. Only one other race in America is ran more. You know what that is?
Daytona 500. I'm guessing.
Nope.
Oh.
It ain't even close, by the way.
Sorry. What? Monaco?
The Kentucky Derby.
Oh, I thought it had to be a car race.
The real horses.
I was going to say something like that. I thought, don't say anything dumb here, Ken. This would be a bad time to say something dumb.
Yeah. So I appreciate you guys bringing that up. You know, I met you guys like you. I went to Honeywell and I said, I learned something in racing that you can do some really amazing business deals at the racetrack. It's a really interesting place. You can play golf, you can go to a football game. But when you're at the racetrack and you're in the suites and you're in the garage and you're walking in the pits, if you're a technology guy and a mechanical guy, man, we just smell that ethanol in the air and the rubber. And I tell you, you're with a client all day and you can relax and you can really just get to, you know, talk about things that
well, Raj, I got to interject, because one of the best times I've had and my clients have had was going to what I call it the Raj Rebmann experience. And when you were with Honeywell, you know, if you hit certain goals, you got to go up. And Raj does not do anything halfway. I mean, you know, this is part of that passion thing.
Yeah.
And dude, you know, when you stay at a nice hotel and then everybody's traffic is stopped.
Remember the bus
race, and Roger's got a convoy going with police officers he knows, and you're driving 80 miles an hour going down to the Indy 500, and then you go to the suite and you go down to the pits. Roger, you know, my customers thought you were the mayor of Indianapolis the way you roll, buddy.
You know, I was talking to your guy Steve Smitherman today, and of course, you know, Michael Bonner and Rob Allen, how much I love them, and I was telling the story. Rick Evans, Chesapeake Controls, he came one year with a buddy. And he told me, he goes, Raj, I'll tell you, the best part of the weekend is when that police escort, that bus went by everybody in traffic for 20 miles, and they yell out the window, sucks to be you guys, right? But he goes, yeah, so we've had a good time, but I want to, again, give some thanks to people like you, Eric, that hit your goals, helped invest with marketing funds. Honeywell invested. It was a team effort. And I can tell you without a doubt, 9 years in a row we did that. People sold systems, people shared stories, and the industry was better for those few days in May. Hard day, you know, just a phenomenal story. But it's guys like you that help us drive that, you know, the fun aspect of this job. Because let's face it, Kenny, back to what you said, I do have fun for the most part of what I'm doing. And I don't know if it just comes natural. I don't know if that's just because I never have to think about. I think I just am passionate about this, and you know, it's almost like seeing the accomplishment and working with a team.
It works, I'll tell you. And there's one other thing you arranged for so many people was that ride-along program and gave them the thrill of their lives. In other words, to your point about what the experience does, it changes you, but it forges your relationships. And one of the most incredible things I ever did was drive. The first time was up at Daytona. Oh, not Daytona. I'm sorry. It was at Poconos.
Pocono with Mario Andretti.
And I got to meet Mario Andretti. Now, you rode with him. I rode with another guy, but it was an equally.
Oh, I couldn't remember who rode with Mario.
No, I was I got a Frenchman, but it was a thrill. When I'd lived in Germany for 9 years and drove like a maniac on the Autobahn, and thought I knew a little bit about speed. Nothing about speed. That car took off, and we drove around that track. It was exhilarating. It was scary. It was fun. The tire was an inch from the wall, and we're going. I don't know how fast we're going, but we were going
open
fast.
wheel at 200 miles an hour in Pocono. The tricky triangle.
Yeah,
man. Those guys, and I think you asked one of the drivers the question. They go, "We only use the brakes to take off and to come into the pits. After that, it's all pedal to pedal."
So, Raj, I tell you, one of the things we've done with you over the years on Control Talk now is play a little game we like to play called Let's Make a Deal. So I am thinking, you've got this technology. I want to tell you mentioned it a few minutes ago, but I want you to reiterate it to our community and talk about how it applies. And you can work with your local distributor on this. Raj will support your local distributor. So if you're an integrator out there or a user, you can reach out to your local distributor and say, "Hey, I want to do this." But what do you say we try to put together another Raj Rebmann experience, sort of working around the shooter technology thing that we're talking about? So talk about that again.
Right.
Let's figure out a way we can get that Indianapolis experience going and get people back up to Indy.
And thanks again, Eric. And again, this is one of the moments that I try to be serious here, because this is a very serious subject, and it's not my idea. It wasn't my idea, nor am I proud to talk about active shooters in our society today. But fortunately and unfortunately, someone and everyone needs to do everything they can and to try to help, contribute to stop this. So I was called to a site by a contractor, and it was a large call center for timeshares, and it's based here in Indianapolis. And they said, we need to increase. Obviously, we were in there putting in Jace 8000s, Honeywell Web 8000s. We had taken out all the Schneider proprietary controls, and we had already upgraded, for the most part, the entire building automation. And you know what happens when you get a taste of Niagara, and the owner is they want more and more and more success. They see the benefits, they see the solution, and as you're beginning to collaborate, they ask things like, "Hey, what can you do about security?" And we say, "Well, absolutely. Actually, we can take care of that too." Well, it grew into a conversation where they brought me in to help be the consulting or trusted advisor, and I'm sitting with the head of the security department, head of facilities. And one of the things they told me that we needed to help engineer was shooter detection systems. And two things: they wanted a metal detector, and really it's called a weapons detection system, which we also offer here at Jackson Control. But they're basically big antennas you can bury in the wall, in the floor, in the ceiling, and they'll pick up everything from a pocket knife to an AK-47 if you're going to walk through the lobby. So that was one of the things that we haven't talked much about, but we talk a lot about shooter detection systems by Guardian. And they said, look, we have to have this built into the application as part of our access control and safety, logic. So it wasn't my idea. I just had to, like all of us, an owner has a need. We try to develop the application, the solution, ask good questions, and I found out there was a system out there that met their needs. SDS, they're sensors that can go in a building. They're sitting in a 4x4 box. They pick up muzzle flash, and they pick up the sound, the audio sound that a gun makes when a shot goes off. It's 30-year-old technology, comes from the military. They have them on Humvees now, and they use them to see in the Afghan mountains. So never a false alarm in 30 years. First thing I thought is, oh my God, I don't want to be the guy putting something in a building and this thing false alarms. I've had dealt with that, but extremely strong track record, 100% no false alarms. So they're PoE, they go into a switch, they have a software program that hits a mobile phone device, lays down breadcrumbs for a floor plan. So you work with us and the manufacturer, we develop just like we do any other sensor in building automation, and we lay those down to detect whatever it is we're looking for there. So It plays really nice into our threat level management with Niagara. So, we have that alarm escalation. I try to enhance that even further by taking advantage of the Niagara platform, using those email alarm classes and extensions, tripping light bars so that there's a visual indication that it's green, yellow, red, and then work with the owner to develop behavior training. So, probably 70% of all these active shooter events, it's more important on how you train the behavior to be ready to alert you. So with Niagara Analytics and some of the other things we're using, we can get those smart alerts out. But it's just another sensor or solution that we can offer to the community, to all the distributors around the country. I work with all of you. I love all you guys. I'd love to bring this technology to your town. We cannot go a day without someone asking us more about the shooter detection. So,
well, Roger, I've seen your presentation and I was amazed by it, and I'm 100% behind you. Everything you said is just absolutely point on, and how, especially new construction, but retrofits as well. But you offer webinars and you offer training on your site, web-based training, and then also you have. Well, you're doing training now at Jackson. So if people want to really immerse themselves in it, they can invest money. But for security, for purposes, anything with a hospital, schools, where you have even shopping centers, you have that risk responsibility. Anything you can to mitigate that and stop this senseless violence.
Right.
We're paying taxes for that. Let's get the bang out of that buck. Get it?
Running it's this part of your infrastructure anyway. We're the perfect guys to do this, or at least talk about this, have it as an option in our building automation offering. I mean, it will lay down breadcrumbs. We can share the floor plans. And one of the things, that I learned during my training on this is that first responders, they've done all the research through Homeland Security, and the biggest problem in an active shooter event, if you talk to first responders, we don't know where he is. Right. Where was he when he fired the last shot? It's not about minutes, it's about seconds. This isn't about prevention. This is about eliminating the threat as fast as you can. And we have the greatest law enforcement in the world. This is high priority for them. And when these events happen, they get social media events. They get 911 calls that are inaccurate. They get panic events. They get people who are not sure if it's a gun. And you've talked across the board. They say, by the time we get there, we're not really sure what kind of information we're getting. So they have to take really a slower approach. Whereas if you had the earbud and the dispatch is looking at a mobile, device and an alarm extension, hey, he's in the cafeteria. Last shot fired in the gym. So they come in through the right side of the building. They get to eliminate the threat sooner. So the biggest problem we solve is, where was the last shot fired? How do we get first responders there? We notify people better in our Niagara integration than anyone out there.
Well, Eric, just one more thing. We always talked about the 4Ds, Roger, in the security world. And it was like we talked about crime, in robberies and breaking entries. You can't stop crime. Unfortunately, the way the society's devised. So what you want to do is you want to deter it. If you can't stop it, send it somewhere else. Now that sounds like a horrible conclusion, but that's what it all comes down to: is you deter, and then you detect, and then you delay, and then you detain, or
Right.
So the things that you're doing here.
In the electronic world, I say, instead of detain, I use notify.
Right.
Because now I deterred you and said, don't come in here. Now I've detected you. You're in here. Now I'm triggering things. Now I'm going to delay you, lock you in the door, lock the doors, cut the cards off, spin the cameras, trip the dialer to the alarm company, whatever I do. So it's about seconds, right?
Right.
And I notify. I hit every school, every teacher, every faculty, every employee through their mobile device and say, code red. Right.
Well, Raj, I just got to tell you, man, our industry's so much better for having you in it, man. Over this, last 300 episodes, it's been such a pleasure getting to know you. We thank you for all you do for the industry. And look, we are going to do at least 300 more episodes. So we'd like to get you back on the show again. Let's talk more about this. But dude, as usual, you're on top of it. You're a great spokesman for our industry. You're on top of the issues, and man, you know, we're lucky to have you on the distribution side. Jackson Controls, lucky to have you, buddy. Thanks so much. JacksonControls.com, best website.
JacksonControl.com.
There he is, Roger Rebmann, who can be the most exciting man and also a serious player in this industry. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Good
Roger.
luck to you. Let's all go out there and have a great 2019.
All right, Ken Smyers, man. I mean, when we sort of go down memory lane, these two gentlemen have been with us really since day one. They were some of the first people we started interviewing and some of the first conferences we started covering. How about introducing our next guest on this special episode of Control Talk now?
Eric, I'd love to. These are two of the most incredible guys in our industry. Both very intelligent, accomplished men from around the world. This is what made Control Trends global. Our next two guests are Mike Marston, CEO and owner of EasyIO, and Lim Hoon Chat, this Chief Technical Officer. And these guys are what brought us into a global arena. This is when we woke up and understood that our North American market was just one dimension of a global market. And we've watched these two guys come on board and grow. I had the most exponential growth of any company that I have personally experienced. So welcome to the show, Mike and Lim, and thanks for being part of our 300th episode.
You're welcome, guys.
Yes.
Well, so you guys, you know, Kenny mentioned global. So you guys aren't in Kansas right now. First of all, let's just start with you guys' locations. Lim, where are you? And Mike, where are you right now?
Mike, go ahead.
Well, I'm in Bangkok at the moment, just for a few days. And we just got back from KL. We've just had a global leadership meeting. And all our guys flew in from around the world. And Lim showed everyone where we're going. Some pretty awesome stuff, right, Lim? So you're in Singapore, right, Lim?
No, I'm still in KL, and we still got a few more things to wrap up before I can leave for the coming Chinese New Year.
Okay, good.
Well, if you guys have ever been to Control Trends, you know you've watched these guys evolve, like Kenny has said, and again, you know, I hear you guys say we got new stuff coming out, and I think for me, one of the characteristics of you guys is you're always innovative, your stuff works, and you guys never stand still. So with this new stuff that's coming out, is there anything you can tell the community about?
We have 4 new products coming in the pipeline. But basically, this is a catch-up year for us to wrap up some of the stuff people have been asking for, and we just want to fulfill them, all the new products. So, for example, this year, I think by second quarter this year, we will have the FW series expanded to 28 IOs point. Wow. So a lot of people are asking for more points, and we deliver that by second quarter of this year.
Awesome. Well, I tell you, it's been quite an ascension. We watched you come from the Beast. Remember the Beast from the East, that moniker that came out because it was a controller that just was overwhelmingly powerful. Then you made it FS32. You brought in the first server class controller, which was remarkable again. So this is cool. Michael, you're being quiet, and that's unusual. Mike Marston was one of the guys, like Roger Rebmann. He was one of the most invigorated people in our industry. Nobody had more enthusiasm or passion to get out and just get it done. So, Michael, we need to. How's things going?
Well, I'm still very passionate. Things have changed a little bit. We've now got a global team. We've now got Gina in the US running the Americas. We've got Brian Klein doing technical support. Over in India now, we're just setting up in the Middle East, combining it with India, really doing some nice stuff over there. In the UK, we've now got an office there and a separate company. We've got Holland, just putting someone into the Nordics. Soon we'll be putting someone into Germany. We've got Simon Mahoney now, who was 20 years with UTC, ALC. He's now running Asia and Australia. So with all these people now, I don't get to do much these days. I just get to relax and look at the results.
Well, that's good. That's a true CEO. Now you're doing the CEO part. I think before you were the chief support person too. You're the chief salesman.
I was the chief dog's body. I think I was running around all over the place, and I mean, obviously paid off. But I just got to make sure we can live for a few more years. So time to relax a little bit.
Good for you.
We're certainly not taking our foot off the pedal at all. I mean, we really are moving nicely. We've had some major wins all around the world. You mentioned the FS32. It's really a big success. And Lim might talk a little bit about the security that we're building into all our products now, and also the additional testing. We're spending more time on testing now than we are on actually developing the products.
Yeah, one of the few things that we recently start doing is that every time we have a new product, we're going to go through a selective beta program with our key partners, OEM partners and integrators who are being proactive with us. So they're going to get beta units of new products to play with and try to crash it and give us health problem before we release in the market.
Yeah.
Well, that's a very important part.
We never had done before. So we are being proactive to encounter the industry, people who tell us what they want, what is missing.
Well, guys, I tell you what, that's something to say, because your guys' products have always worked from my perspective. And so a couple of things. If you guys get a chance, we have the Control Trends Podcasting Network now. I had the honor of doing Control Trends People with both Lim and Mike. So if you want to hear their life stories, phenomenal stories from both these gentlemen, and that's on the Control Trends Podcasting Network under Control Trends People. But guys, let's get back at it, because we have spent a good bit of time with you guys over the last 300 or so episodes of Control Talk now, the Smart Buildings Videocast and Podcast. When did we first show up on your guys' radar? How did you guys find out about us?
Oh, I remember, Eric. I was in Omaha Airport en route to come and meet you guys in Atlanta, and you phoned me on my cell phone. And that must have been about, I don't know, 9-10 years ago. And you said, hey, we've got to talk. I've got this great idea, and I think it might interest you. So how's that for a memory?
That's a great memory. I tell you what. Well, and you know, to your credit, Mike and Lim, you guys hopped right on. And it's just been a great relationship with you guys. And like Kenny said, we've come up with some really great sort of monikers or names over the years, from the Beast to the East to the Beast Big Brother to they call it Easy for a reason. You guys it's just been a great ride with you guys. It's been so much fun. And Mike, I can remember us, shooting a video interview on the mountains in Colorado. I think we're all out there for the Haystack.
Pikes Peak.
Yeah, Pikes Peak.
Right.
That's right. So we've done some crazy stuff. And then, of course, the global conferences have just been off the chain. And I think we're seeing more and more people from the U.S. going to your global conferences. But, we've everything from Madrid to Paris. And this year, you guys got another one that's coming up. Tell our community about the conferences coming up this May.
Well, the next one's going to be on home turf. It's going to be in Amsterdam at the Heineken Brewery. So that should keep everyone busy. And we're expecting a huge audience. Lim's got some amazing stuff to show people. We're working with some global accounts now that require really high security at the edge. And we've actually pulled it off. It's quite amazing, actually. So Lim's going to be showcasing a lot of stuff over there, as well as having a lot of fun.
What's awesome, we had kind of cornered the new technologies and the new trends. We had the IT merging with OT, the operational technology. I think you guys did a lot of instruction work there. Data just surged to the top of our forefront. Cybersecurity, IoT. We said IoT so many times that we got sick of hearing IoT because it lost its meaning. We had edge controllers, and we had our master systems integrators. One thing I've noticed is the incredible growth of the integrators that took EasyIO, in hand and made it the choice framework, and tell us about some of the, well, to Eric's point too, the global meetings were incredible. The Paris, Manchester, and Madrid. And now we're going to see Amsterdam. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But the growth of the integration, the growth of the trends, what were the biggest trends that you and Lim have kind of followed suit to and addressed and brought the technologies forth to meet those, including cybersecurity, which was a good start?
Well, I will let Lim answer that one, but we don't tend to follow trends. We tend to set them. Right? So cool. I guess if we follow anything, we follow the IT industry that's always been way ahead.
Bingo.
Right,
Lim,
over to you.
Yeah, it's about, I think one of the biggest change in our company development direction was about 2 years ago. I think immediately after the Manchester event, we talked to some global company, and that struck me as today everybody talk about smart city, smart buildings, all this, and yet our systems are never on the corporate or even the city network because our systems are never secure enough. So at that point in time, we started to look at, say, how can we make our controller be more secure? So a few standards that we have been adopting and things that we have been doing is like one of the earliest adaptation on the FS was to support AO2.1x, built-in VPN, okay, secure servers, and we have started doing tests with IT companies to all our new controllers. That means that we are not going to say, oh, I think that we are good enough, but we are actually letting them play and tell us what's wrong, what's missing, or what's not good enough.
Very, very cool. And tell our community about the FW if they don't know about that. It was a winner at the Control Trends Awards this year. And again, that's another, technology that you guys are enhancing. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, Lim and Mike, but it seems like what you guys do is if there's a technology that's already there from another industry, you guys just you add control onto it or IO onto it.
Yes, the FW is our first penetration into the wireless market. So we look at it and say, hey, can we design a wireless controller? There are a lot of wireless standards out in the market, but as usual, we do not try to take some proprietary standards or proprietary components. We try to adopt what is norm in the IT world. So today, if you look at the IT world, Wi-Fi has been the dominating standard. Every building, every airport, every facility, you have Wi-Fi, one for another. So that's where we started with. The other thing that we look at is this. EasyIO has been very conscious about performance-price ratio in all our products. So how can we make it more cost-effective, more higher price-performance ratio than in the past? Because if you take a controller and you try to slap a wireless component, a wireless chip to it, you just increase price. So one of the earlier philosophy that we look at it and say, hey, let's reverse the design philosophy. Why not take a wireless router and make it a controller by slapping IO to it instead of slapping a controller with a wireless chip? And that allow us to make the FW series very price competitive.
Oh, yes, it is.
Well, I think that that was kind of groundbreaking. That was a precedent setter where I don't think a lot of people, it didn't occur to them, but they didn't know, they didn't have the innovation and they didn't see the potential there. Just to review with the Control Trends community, we had, like Eric said, we do this thing with how many times people have been on the Control Trends, and EasyIO and Mike Marston and Lim have the #1 spot. You guys took advantage of what we tried to do, and that was become a pivot point for the industry, serve up the new information and give people an opportunity to see the technologies that were available. And again, it was just an amazing success. But Lim, you had some, I mean, it's not hard to believe that you're coming up with this innovation. we, like Eric said, we did this Control Talk Now, we did this Control People, and you had told us about some of your incredible adventures as a young person, where you were taking TVs apart and putting together to make some kind of electronic device. And then, so this new technology you're bringing, are we going to see a patent come, or is this, another thing too is the collaboration you guys did. You said that if you put together these open source things and you take advantage, like Eric said, the technologies, you get things done a heck of a lot faster. And the tires have already been kicked on a lot of the stuff. So you're not experimenting with technology, you're applying known and, accomplished technology. So what's your next brainstorm with technology?
I guess that is something that you guys have to wait and see.
Oh, good answer. There we go.
Well, you're talking about kicking the tires. I mean, Lim, I don't know that we can tell people now, but or if Elon Musk has still got a hit out on you, but is it true that you developed the first electric car when you were a kid, and then Elon Musk stole that technology from you?
I wish I could say that's true.
Well, let's cycle back around, guys, because again, unfortunately we don't have much time on this show, but hopefully get you guys back for a complete show. But Mike, when you talk about the Heineken Brewery, it makes me think about some of the really unique uses that you guys have had for the FS, the Beast from the East controller. And one of them is you guys have gotten pretty popular with microbreweries. So I guess the first question would be, at Heineken, are you guys controlling that process with the FS controller, or excuse me, the FG controller? And talk about some other unique usages that we're seeing around the globe for your controllers.
Well, I wish it was the case that we were controlling the Heineken brewery, but there is still time yet. We see it used in all kinds of different applications. I'm just trying to think of some off the top of my head, but we do get some quite strange ones from time to time. We are growing mushrooms in Russia and China on quite a large scale.
Nice.
I don't mean magic mushrooms. I just mean regular mushrooms.
Right.
I believe we're doing about 100 farms. Are we doing a lot of pot farms in the US as well? All the legal ones, of course.
Good.
We see it going in all kinds of places, and the sales of the FS have really come through nicely. So in March, we're introducing an FS20, which will be a 20-point version. And as Lynn mentioned, we've got the FW28 coming out as well. And we've had a lot of feedback that people want more DOs on the PCB. So we've added lots to the FW28. It's really going to be hit the sweet spot that people are looking for.
Awesome.
Well, it is incredible, and I think part of that is, first of all, another saying that we came up with over the years is they call it easy for a reason, and I think part of it is if you know how to do Niagara, you know how to program your controllers, and the power, the flexibility, and the price point really, really make it a very logical solution as a standalone system, or adding it to a network.
Yeah, I'd like to just add something more that Gino asked me to mention. We've started to manufacture now again in Malaysia. We've moved some manufacturing away from China because of the tariffs, or the tariffs that we might see. Who knows? We're seeing some now. So we've worked really hard to redo all our UL and certification and everything. And so we're going to ship everything from the US out of Malaysia. And we're also going to have fulfillment in country as well. So Gina is handling all that. And she's spending a lot of time really working on the distributors, CGNA distributors, the OEMs, and our partners. We've really given that a lot of focus and a lot more training. So you're going to see more and more of the same. So we really are getting geared up to move quickly when we have to, like we normally do.
Well, congratulations on Gina, by the way. I mean, she's doing a fantastic job for you guys. And yeah, it's kind of, I think we're all parents here, so it's kind of for Ken and me, it's kind of like watching a child grow up. You guys are becoming adults and just doing fantastic. So Kenny and I are very, very proud of you guys. We're very proud to know you, and thank you for all your support along our journey from starting Control Trends and starting Control Talk now to episode 300.
Well, congratulations to you both as well. You've done an amazing job. Real icons in the industry. Everyone respects you. And 300 episodes, wow. And I'd like to also say to you, Eric, in particular, I loved your speech at the Hall of Fame for your dad. Well, I thought that was amazing. It brought tears to my eyes.
Well, thank you.
Really, really top notch.
Well, appreciate that. And of course, we appreciate all your guys' support. You guys have always, regarding the Control Trends Awards, when Kenny and I had the idea, the first words out of Mike and Lim's mouth were, "We'll be a sponsor." When the awards end every year, you guys usually say, "Thank you, we're on for next year." So you guys have just been great, great support for us. It's been a great friendship, and let's keep it going for another 3, 6, 1,200 episodes, as long as we can keep going, fellas. What do you say?
All right.
All right, so that's Mike Marston and Lim Hoodshot from EasyIO. If you're in the U.S., best website is EasyIO.com, I believe. And if you guys are global, what's the best website for our viewers that are not based in North America, Ken? I mean,
in fact, have a look at our website now. It will divert you to it. So when you go to EasyIO.com now, there's a landing page. It's really impressive. And you can click on the Americas, you can click on Europe, you can click on Asia, and it just automatically routes through. And then you've got sign-on pages and support and all kinds of stuff that's sensitive to local market requirements.
Very, very cool. And so we will see you guys in Amsterdam, and we're hoping we're going to bring a whole bunch of our friends from North America over, because I tell you what, EasyIO knows how to do 2 things really, really well. One is build great controllers and support them, and 2, you guys know how to throw a meeting. So
very true, very true.
All right, guys, listen, thanks so much. We appreciate you guys, and we'll be seeing you guys again real soon.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Great week. Episode 300 is in the books. So we got some special thanks. Special thanks to all the people that sent the congratulatory videos. Can't tell you how much that means to me and Kenny. Kenny, our guest, Mark Petock, the one and only Roger Rebmann, of course, Mike Marston, Lim Hoodshot. Thank you so much for coming on the show. So remember, be bold, stay in control, and stay relevant.
Indeed, Eric.
Indeed, Kenny Smyers. And that's a wrap.